The cold season offers those reaching Turnu-Severin city the occasion to take part in a series of spectacular shows, and the most representative place is Theodore Costescu's Cultural Palace, which is located in the very center of the city and close to the Danube. This edifice represents a real symbol for the entire cultural life of the whole Mehedinti county, being declared a protected historical monument on the UNESCO list. The idea of building it appeared in 1912, a Theodore Costescu's initiative, who was then the principal of Trajan Secondary School, and who had been elected the chairman of the society called Turnu-Severin's Theatre. The actual construction started in the spring of 1913 with money donated by citizens and from the public budget, while Grigore Cherkes was chosen as the architect. In 1916, the work stopped due to the fact that Romania entered the First World War. After the war finished in 1918, the society that had been founded to build the theatre went bankrupt. But Theodore Costescu's perseverance bore fruit again, and he gathered a few more millions donated by the inhabitants of Severin. The government and the National Bank also contributed with some money. Nevertheless, the challenges continued as the money finished again. Theodore Costescu, with an inexhaustible energy, sold his own lands and private house in Severin so that the theatre could be eventually finished. The great man of culture, then old and sick, came to live in harsh conditions in the very building of the theatre, but finally his dream was fulfilled. The construction built to promote cultural events for the inhabitants of Severin was at last ready, being inaugurated on November the 30th, 1924, with a show performed by the National Theatre of Bucharest, when they presented Ion Luca Caragiale's play, The Blight. The imposing building was thought from the beginning to comprise different rooms for a library, a cinema hall, a restaurant, C.I. Strati Museum Hall, the festivity hall, and the accessory room. The theatre hall was located between the two wings of the building, having a capacity of 700 seats and a rotating stage, unique in the country at that time. Theodore Costescu was elected an honorary member of the Romanian Academy in 1934 for his endeavor and his peerless cultural contribution. Nowadays, the Cultural Palace is a place open permanently to the citizens, offering them the opportunity of presenting social and cultural manifestations in the spirit of the city. There are shown films, mostly seen by youngsters, music concerts of well-known bands, folk shows such as the celebration of the Small Union on January the 24th, or exhibitions and book releases in the other halls of the representative cultural edifice. But theatre shows remain the most appreciated cultural events, the Great Hall being too small for all those wishing to take part in these remarkable manifestations. One of the most important religious traditions in winter is the Epiphany Day. Every year on January the 6th, the Orthodox believers mark Jesus Christ's christening in the Jordan River. The day begins with a religious service in the Cathedral of Severin, held by a group of priests led by the local bishop. A large number of local people of all ages take part with great dedication to this moving event. At the end of the service, all the priests start a procession through the town, carrying flags and religious signs, being followed by the congregation. They walk the whole distance to the port of Drobeta, crossing the city while admired and applauded by the passers-by. Once on the Danube bank, the priests officiate a new service, and then the climax of the day takes place. The tradition is preserved with holiness, and the priest throws a wooden cross into the water, while the most daring men dive in the extremely cold water to bring it back. It is said that the man who succeeds in getting the cross first will be guarded against all evils throughout the year, and his family will have only joys and welfare. At the same time, it is known that the priests bless the water, changing it into holy water, which has miraculous healing powers. Everybody present fills a bottle with this holy water, which they will drink together with their families every morning of the following days. The christening celebration is a great Christian feast, and the tourists that can take part in this tradition have the privilege of enjoying a moment of great spirituality. Orshova, a town with a great tourist potential and a millenary history, known as Dierna Fortress in Roman times, impresses its visitors with its location on the Danube bank, while the surrounding hills can offer an impressive panorama of the whole region. The place is an important tourist center with an active presence for the visitors that reach here, willing to find out the history of these lands. Starting with December 2017, the locals and the tourists have at their disposal a new museum here, where they can admire the traces of history. Endowed with all the facilities, the new place is arranged in a modern way, having 3 exhibition ranges with different themes: natural sciences, history, archaeology, and ethnography. The exhibited objects means to bring into the tourist network both the troubled history of these places, or the lost paradise of Adakale Isle, and the wild beauty of the Iron Gates National Park. There are exhibited all kinds of weapons, as well as household, religious and cultural objects. A place apart is held by the exhibition dedicated to Adakale Isle. Situated on a bend of the Danube, upstream the Iron Gates Dam, this isle was a place where the Ottoman traditions were preserved, due to the fact that the population was of Turkish origin. The visitors can see in the museum a few objects and interior parts of a traditional Ottoman house. A special place in the museum is dedicated to the specific species of plants, animals and fish that live in the region, as the Danube Gorge has a Mediterranean climate. A novel idea which pleasantly surprises the visitors is the presence of a hologram, which, through the voice of an old Turk, tells with much grace a small part of the charming history of these places.
Mai toate prăvăliile care erau adunate pe strada principală, Ezardia, te ademeneau cu arunche puternice de tutun.
Mehedinti County offers ideal conditions for those wishing to take part in a hunting party, due to the varied relief and proximity to the Danube. In winter, the hunting season is open for most species of wild animals, so that what you have to do is just choose an area and a group of hunters, naturally observing the rules imposed by the law. The snow that covers the whole landscapes creates a genuine winter background, and it is also ideal to find and identify the footsteps of the wild boars, which are the main target of the hunters in this period.
pare că avem un vier solitar.
A high increase in the number of boars has been noticed lately, so that organizing some legal hunting parties is beneficial and even necessary in order to keep a steady optimal number and eliminate the sick or deficient specimens. The hunt starts at sunrise, when the off-road cars hardly find their way through the forest on an almost inaccessible road full of mud and deep holes. The driver's nerves are seriously stretched, but with mutual help, any difficulty is overcome and nobody is left behind. Once surpassed the access problem to the ground, the preparations continue with each hunter concerned to set his gun, ammunition and equipment. The organizer of the hunt leads his men to the chosen area, each of them receiving directions where they have to stay and the rules they have to follow. Hunting offers the feeling of a true adventure, but it implies knowing and strictly observing some important rules in order to avoid any unpleasant incidents. It is a beautiful day, but in spite of the sunshine, the chill lingers on. The tension and strain grow by the hour, especially as no flock of boars comes in sight, even though there have been found many traces showing their passage around there recently. But eventually the trophies are not so important, as the pleasure and satisfaction of spending a wonderful day in the middle of a fairy tale landscape near your friends that share the same passion. As if hidden in the mist of time, the villages of Mehedinti seem stone still in long-forgotten ages, keeping untouched a wonderful collection of folk customs and traditions. Poroinitsa village of Rogovo commune is one such example, where every year on February the 24th, people celebrate the Day of Love in the Romanian tradition called Dragobete. Even early in the morning, young people, boys and girls, can be seen in the streets of the village, dressed in celebration popular costumes, going to gather their friends, while the boys make plans how to catch the girls and steal a kiss from them. After a few hours caroling, they all go to the community center in the middle of the village, where a traditional folk show dedicated to this beautiful celebration is held. The youngest boys and girls are more willing to preserve this tradition, taking advantage of the occasion to start new friendships. Parents and grandparents are also there to make sure that the relationship is serious and right for their family. Everything ends with traditional folk dances in the rhythm of the music. On Epiphany Day, celebrated according to the old rite of the Orthodox calendar, Mehedinti town meets us with seemingly trembling with cold streets because of the winter frost late in the evening. The center of the town is colorfully lit by the winter decorations, while the outlaw Velikos statue looks like it is guarding over the passers-by walking around. A billboard displayed at the entrance of the main street urges us to join a celebration which already registers its 8th edition, and that is devoted to the inhabitants of the town, called Vesela Charcia, that is the Merry Town. The preparations are in full swing. The place for the show is being arranged, while the merchants prepare their stalls where they will sell traditional products. It is an extraordinary occasion for all the inhabitants to enjoy themselves together, participating to this outdoors celebration. Gradually, the onlookers gather in front of the stage where the music festival is about to begin. The first entrance is that of the children's ethnographic group from Vuk Karadzic Primary School. There are many children in the audience who came with their parents or grandparents, watching with great interest and joy how their mates sing and play on the stage. Then, before a growing number of spectators, the group from Stevan Mokraniat's school comes on the stage, performing two well-known musical pieces that are very much appreciated. Then the group of Negotin Pensioners Association follows, who, in spite of their age, succeed in impressing the audience with their devotion and dedication they have put forward to prepare this artistic program. Cavalieri Orchestra of Negotin follows, and by the reaction of the public, it results that its repertoire is well appreciated. The cheerfulness is present even beyond the stage, where the streets resound in the merry rhythms of a brass band made up of a few talented native musicians. The organizers of this tradition were, as usual, the municipality of Negotin, Stevan Mokraniat's Cultural Center, and the tourist organization of Negotin Town that joined efforts to offer the inhabitants a successful evening where entertainment mixed happily with tradition and artistic performance. Some 25 kilometers away from Negotin, going towards the Bulgarian border close to the Timok River and at the edge of Roglievo village, there is a complex of traditional stone houses known as the Rayat Cellars. Practically, it is a settlement on the peak of a hill, made up exclusively of old buildings some over 100 years old, where people produce and store wine. The locals inherited these cellars from their parents and grandparents and are proud to preserve this traditional style of work. The grapes are brought from the inherited vineyards of the people in the region and turned into wine. The houses are made of stone, with deep and cool cellars, suitable for depositing the casks full of Bacchus's liquor. The settlement is very picturesque and attractive for the tourists that come here, and they have come in an ever greater number lately. There are some 150 such buildings located around a central square. Some cellars offer accommodation and food, everything in the traditional style. Closely related to the tradition of growing grapes in the region is the time-honored feast on February the 14th, celebrating Saint Tryphon, the protector of the vineyards and of the people taking care of them. Hundreds of people enthusiastically participate, marking the day and hoping the saint will bring them a fruitful year and a lot of good wine. This is a custom maintained both in Serbia and in Romania and Bulgaria. Otherwise, you can hear in many places how those present speak Romanian, being the inhabitants of the Timok region. Though the weather is rather unfavorable, it does not hinder the performance on the central stage of a beautiful show of traditional dances and songs, the most appreciated being a group of young dancers. Then there follows a religious service delivered by the local priest. The entire manifestation is devoted to the vine and wine, so that, at the end, the whole assembly go to the margin of the village, where the vineyard is symbolically blessed by sprinkling holy water over it. Tradition has it that the first row of the vineyard must be bound, cut and taken care of, so the priest skillfully fulfills this task. The celebration ends with a great feast in the cellars that are waiting for the guests. Although the cold season is not the best one for mountain hiking, the adventure addicts in the region do not hesitate to use each opportunity to pursue their passion of mountain trekking. The end of February brought almost perfect conditions for such an exploit. A group of 23 persons from the rock climbing club VRH in Kladovo and Deli Jovan of Negotin decided to start on their journey. The group contains members of all ages, young or persons that reach their third youth, but all with a great experience in mountaineering and an enviable physical condition. The first part of the route is relatively easy on a forest road, the way being very well marked by road signs. The climbing is gentle, the weather marvelous, and the tourists enthusiastic. This part is about 3.5 kilometers long, ending in a place where you can see a beautiful panorama of the Danube. The climbers make some halts, either to take pictures or to have a snack. The final aim is to climb Veliki Štrbac peak, which is 768 meters high. This one belongs to the Miroch Massif, one of the mountains in the Iron Gates Jeddah National Park, all this region being a protected natural reserve. The whole route is quite long, of about 18 kilometers, so that the strength of those climbing is severely tested, especially as the height increases, the landscape changes, and the path becomes narrower and narrower and covered by snow and mud. Once at the top, the sight is magnificent, the whole Danube Gorge opening in front of the eyes in all its splendor, with both the great hollows and the small hollows. It is a well-deserved reward for those who strove to cross this quite difficult route. The return journey is through Mali Prila Massif, and at the end of it, each participant goes home with a deep gratitude in his soul and the satisfaction of having spent a wonderful day in the middle of nature.